Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at BTC. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Okay, so pretty much the same ideas are still available to us as of yesterday. We're going to go over this internal count here in a second, but we're just going to give a quick overview of the counts that we're looking for. So within the super bullish case, what we are arguing is that this wave 2 has already completed over here. We're looking at this as potentially a wave 1. And then we're actually looking for this continuation to the upside, though we would only get a confirmation of this by getting a bigger 5-wave structure up here towards this 32,770 level. And then we'd still need to see this 4th wave come in and not invalidate this count by crossing this wave 1 here. So this is technically possible. What I want to see here, though, is price starting to turn around and actually looking to hold these two lows that we've got here. So if that's the case, we need to hold those. And what we want to see here is effectively something like this playing out. Now, in the previous video, what we were looking for was the potential we could have this as 1, 2, and then we were looking for this potentially as another 1, 2, but we came down too low and we took this low point here. And because of that fact, it is still possible. We could argue that this is A, B, and C as a flat correction. And what we could start to see is price looking to reverse to the upside here. Now, the thing we need to be cautious of is within the bearish case where we're looking to actually continue to the downside, a 3-wave move up towards this 30,692 could actually indicate that we are going to see continuation to the downside come in. So we need to be careful of this level here. If we just see a 3-wave move or a 5-wave move up here, so this could actually be WX and then we see 3 waves up, or alternatively we could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like this up into this zone. And that could actually just be a corrective structure. And then from there, we'd have to be careful, because if we start to see 5 waves to the downside, this would align with the idea that from over here, we have a bigger ABC pattern, and we could actually still look to break down. So we're going to go over that idea in a second. But effectively within this count, looking at this bullish case here, I don't want to see this 29,861 break. And really from this current area we're sitting, I don't really want to see another drop here. We could potentially argue this is W, this is X, we have A, B, and C. In which case, potentially, we could look to actually come down towards this 29,861. But invalidation of this bullish count actually comes by crossing this 29,701. Now, what we'd want to see here effectively with this count is to see this move actually play to the upside here towards this 31,151. Then we'd need to get a 4th wave around this zone of this 30,692. We'd want to stay above this wave 1 high and then get another 5-wave move up into this target area here of this 31,578 to this 31,396. Now, the key thing here is if we do get a 5-wave move like this, what we need to see for that continuation is actually a 3-wave retracement, looking to maintain this zone of this 30,550 to this 30,000 or 30,046 level. So that would be looking for that bullish case. And then we'd want to, after finding support here, we'd need to see price actually push to the upside here for this 32,770 as a potential target area for this wave 3. So that's looking at the idea that we've completed here. Now, this is not my primary expectation, but it is technically possible, so just keeping an eye on it. Now, the alternative way that we can argue is that we've completed into this high. What we're looking for here is a bigger corrective move. Now, I haven't given up on this idea that we could still see this as a B wave to the upside here, where this whole move actually becomes A, we get B here, and then we're looking for this C wave to the upside. So that is technically still possible. Now, what we would be looking for within that is something along these lines, where we're looking at this as our A wave, this is our B wave, and what we want to see is a 5-wave move to the upside. Technically speaking, this could be WX, and we could see ABC here, another B wave, and then another C wave, something like this, where this actually becomes a bigger A, B, and a C to the upside here, looking for this to actually play out as a flat. Now, the key thing here is what I would ideally like to see is a 5-wave move here for this flat. Alternatively, 3 waves to the upside would also still suffice here, provided that this one is a 5-wave structure. Now, what we'd be looking for as a 1-to-1 would be this 31,589. Now, this would be looking to actually come up here and sweep these highs again, so that would be quite interesting. As well as that, we do have this previous swing high here at this 31,765 as a possible target that we will be keeping an eye on if we do see price actually move up into some of these higher levels here. So it's going to be interesting to see if we actually look to sweep this high, or whether it's too obvious and we don't actually move up into that zone. We'll also be keeping an eye on this central channel line that we have over here, that potentially we could actually see a rejection off this zone, and we could actually see price continue to the downside. So we need to just be very careful of that idea that even if we do see an impulsive move to the upside here, this could still mean that we have an additional leg to the downside afterwards. So that's looking at the idea that within this structure, we could still see a C wave to the downside, looking for this 29,132 to this 28,434. Now, another way we were discussing this is that potentially we could be looking for a deeper move here, where we are already looking at this as our C wave, where we argue that this B wave completes here, and we're looking for that potential of this as a C wave to the downside. Now, what we need to be careful of is if this starts to become 1-2 here, what we could see is a bigger 5 wave move looking to target out this red target of this as a flat, which would be this 26,687. But like I said, it is a rare target. Typically speaking, as a flat, we actually look to target out these areas here of this 28,434. So going to be keeping an eye on this. If we do see price move to the upside here, 32,202 to this 31,906 is a potential target area. Now, another way we can talk about this move is that we could actually see this as either a bigger W and X, and we're looking at this as ABC over here. We also have that idea that we have this as just an A, B, and a C. This one is looking out for that idea of that bigger 5-wave structure. So really, until we actually break back above this 31,500 level, we need to be very careful, because this could look to extend out. And at the moment, what I'm looking for within this count is that if we are looking at this as another ABC here, what we could be looking for is a 5-wave move to start to develop to the downside. So now on the shorter term here, what I'm looking out for is that if we only see a 3-wave move to the upside here, what we could see is a retest of this 30,271 to this 30,255. Now within this area, there is some interesting levels. Our current monthly point of control is sitting at this 30,261. We also do have a weekly and a daily naked point of control sitting here towards us 30,277 to this 30,264. So any kind of a move up here that doesn't take this high, I would be very careful around this zone as a possible rejection area. Alternatively, if we do see this push up slightly higher, what we could see is a retest of the 786 here. Invalidation of this idea of developing as a 5-wave move to the downside comes by crossing this 30,445, in which case this would be taken as a corrective structure, and then possibly looking for this continuation up. But what we need to be careful here is if we do move down past this 29,447 region, this could align with the idea that actually what we're setting up is a 5-wave move to the downside. Now, this could potentially just be an ABC pattern if we only move down towards this 29K region. Alternatively, if we start to break down deeper, we do have this 28K here. And if we do move past that, then potentially what we could see is an additional 4th and a 5th here. So need to be careful of this idea really until we start to break back above this 30,445. Need to be careful of this idea of just actually breaking down directly here. So going to just be keeping an eye on that in case we start to get more impulsive moves to the downside here. Now, in the way that we're looking at this, where this is just a corrective move to the downside, so looking at this as looking for a B wave and then the C wave to the downside here, what we could actually see is still be looking for this B wave to the upside here. Now, our typical rejection area is this 31K to this 30,528. So if we do see price actually reverse to the upside here, and we see either another 3-wave move to the upside where this becomes W, X, and Y, or alternatively we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially what we could see is this B wave looking to come back up into some of these higher levels here. Now, the way that we'd be looking at this effectively would be in this way over here, where we could be arguing that this is W, this is X, and then we're looking for this Y wave. So this aligns with the C wave as well. What we'd then be looking for here is that potentially we could be completed this X wave over here. Now, we were talking about this yesterday when we had this move to the upside. We're saying, you know, we need to be careful that this corrective structure isn't incomplete, and we could see a move down towards some of these lower target areas here. So we did actually come back into this golden pocket area, this 29,960 to this 29,984. And what I want to see here is if we do see an additional move up here, and we're only in 3 waves, and we failed to break back above this 30,338, what we could see is price actually form A, B, C. Now, 1-to-1 target would be this 29,747, and if we start to move down past this 29,447 region, this would actually align with the idea that we're starting to have a bigger breakdown here, where this would become 4,5 to the downside. So we need to be careful of this on the shorter term. If we start to break down more aggressively, 29,447 is going to be that area I'm looking at as a potential zone where we could look to see price look to break down in a bigger way here. So we need to be careful of that 29,447 given the current structure that we have. Now, if we are looking at this potentially as a completed X wave, what we could then start to see is, provided this low holds here, this 29,950, we could see price actually form something like this as a 5-wave move to the upside. We look to target out this 3704. Now that would look to actually bring us up into that typical zone we're looking for as a possible rejection here, where we are saying that we are going to be looking for this area here. Now, some other areas of interest given the current structure would be this 1382, which would be coming up to the 786, also looking to bring us up into this zone here, where we are looking to come back into the central channel line here. We do have the 1236, which is aligned with that 702, and then we also do have this 121 very close to this golden pocket area over here. So going to be keeping an eye on that. If price does move up here, we need to just be careful. If it's in 3 waves, we could be looking for that potential rejection and downside to come in. But we also need to just be careful until we start breaking some of these highs, this 30,239 and this level here of this 30,445. We could see price just actually directly break to the downside here in that 5-wave idea. Now, even if we do see this as a bigger X wave and we come down towards this 29,747, it is possible that this could still be a B, and a C, where we could still see price be within this B wave here, and we could see a move up before having this move down for this C wave. If, however, we want to argue that this B wave is completed here, there's a reason I don't like this. We didn't reach the 0.618 of this. If we want to say this is WXY here, and we want looking for this break to the downside, effectively what our target would be as a 1-to-1 would actually be lower down here towards this 28,814 level. So going to be keeping an eye on this. If we do start to break down here, this is all aligning with the idea of actually within that bullish count looking to come back into some of these support ranges that we have lower down here. This 0.382 would be this 28,699. We have the 50% here at this 27,908, and then we have this lower area here, which will be aligning with coming back into this channel. So the 618 is quite an interesting zone here as well, looking to actually retest some of this previous structure, but so is this 50%, and even this 382 to a certain extent is quite interesting. So this is all aligning with that idea of looking at this bullish count. Now we just need to be careful because we still have that other count available, where we are looking for this as a bigger corrective structure, where either we are treating this as a bigger W, an X and a Y, in which case our 1-to-1 target is this 26,205, and then our 0.618, which would be our minimum requirement, would actually be up here towards this 28K level, which would be quite an interesting zone indeed. Now, if we are completed into this high, what we could actually see is that idea of still having a 5-wave move to the downside, looking for this 25,067 to this 23,373. Now, the only reason I don't like this count is because we would have to then say that within this area here, what we actually had is that price actually formed this as a expanding diagonal, which is not very common. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 into this high, and then we're looking for that bigger breakdown in a 5-wave move. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this structure here. If we start to get too out of hand to the downside and we start to move down, like I said, to 28K region, we need to be very careful that this isn't developing into a 4th and a 5th here. And then what we could have here is that this could either be a bigger A, B, and a C pattern, or alternatively, this could actually just become a 5-wave move in itself. We get another 3-wave move up, and then we get that continuation to the downside. So we need to just be very careful that if we start to get 5-wave structure down here, this could actually indicate we have a bigger sell-off looking to play out. Looking at the daily CPR, what we can see is that we actually came up into these central CPR lines. We are below these. We have hit this R1 target. Lower targets for today are this 29,838, 29,612, this 29,451 as potential downside targets if we fail to actually reclaim these lines. Now, if we do, however, start to break back above these, we do have targets to the upside. You have this 30,384, which would align with coming back into these highs. Then above us here, we do have these areas here of this 30,603, 30,777, and this higher area of this 30,996, which would be aligning with coming back up towards that 31K region, which would align with the idea of actually seeing that bigger corrective structure here, where we're going to see a move coming back up into potentially this target box area. So that would align with that. Now we do also have some lower targets here aligning with the idea of having another leg to the downside here. So going to be keeping an eye on those zones as we see price develop. Now we have a new weekly CPR printed. We are currently below this point. We haven't retested this, but if we do see another push to the upside here, we'll be keeping an eye on this zone here, this 30,305 as a possible target area, particularly in that idea that this is an A, a B, and we're looking for the C wave down. Now, if we do look to move up here, potentially we could also look to retest this 30,452 and this 30,598 level. Now that wouldn't really align with this count unless this is going to be a truncation as a bigger A, B, or WXY, in which case we aren't going to hit some of these higher targets. Alternatively, if we do actually just start to reject down here, we'll be keeping an eye on this 29,407 during this week, this 28,655, and then we do have this lower level here of this 27,617 as possible targets. Our upside targets, if we manage to reclaim these central lines, is the 31,199, 32,252, and this area here of this 33K. So these would align with actually seeing that push to the upside here. Once again, we're going to go over the monthly ones. Same idea as the last time we talked about these. Really, we have still got support of the central lines here. So our central line, the top central line is sitting here at this 29691. We have the center sitting towards this 28907, and we have this lower range here sitting towards this 28117 region. So going to be keeping an eye on these areas, particularly in relation to that idea of having support come in here, looking at this as a bigger corrective move. Like I said, treating this as a zone, we are looking for support to come in. 382 is aligning quite nicely with the central line here, and then we do have this 50% slitting slightly below the lower line of these central CPRs, but we do still have that potential that we have this R1 to the downside at this 26,376 and this R2 at this 22,293 as possible target areas to the downside here if we start to lose these lines. If we do continue to hold these, then potentially we could see price get gravitated towards this 33K. We have 35,512 and 39,613 as potential upside targets for this month. Now we don't have to hit those targets. These are just potential pivot points within the market. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description, you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We will see you in the next one. Take care.